All right, let's talk about large-scale graphics. Today, we're going to stop thinking about them as just decoration. Instead, we're building an expert framework to help you make what is really a critical investment for any commercial space. Because let's face it, in today's world, your walls need to do more than just look good. They have to perform.
So let's be really clear from the get-go. Whether you manage a hospital, a school, or a corporate office, your walls are incredibly valuable assets. The graphics you put on them, well, they impact everything: your operations, your budget, and how people perceive your brand. This isn't just about making things look pretty, it's about performance. Let's see how that plays out.
When you get right down to it, there are really two main technologies that run the show in this space. You've got the traditional route, which is printed panels, and then you have the modern alternative, direct-to-wall printing. Understanding the fundamental differences between these two is absolutely the first step to making an expert call. And right off the bat, the difference is pretty stark. Panels are made somewhere else, in a workshop, and then they have to be pieced together on-site, which, of course, means you're going to have seams. Direct-to-wall printing happens right there in your space, creating this one seamless graphic that literally becomes part of the wall itself. Let's break down what that really means, starting with the traditional way of doing things.
So printed panels are probably what most of us are familiar with. Graphics are printed on these rigid materials, think aluminum composite or PVC. They're finished up, and then they get shipped to your location like a big kit of parts. Then the installers have to come in and meticulously line everything up, fastening all these pieces together to create the final picture.
Now, the alternative, direct-to-wall printing, this is a completely different workflow. A mobile printer on a rail system creates the image right on your existing wall, whether it's drywall, concrete, or even brick. UV light cures the ink instantly, bonding it directly to the surface. The result? A perfectly seamless finish that looks and feels more like a high-performance paint job. And get this, no vinyl, no adhesives.
Okay, so now that we've got the basics down, we can really dig into the heart of this. We're going to walk through a series of diagnostic questions, the exact same ones an expert would ask, to figure out which solution is truly the right one for your project's specific needs.
First up, durability. In high-traffic environments, this is just non-negotiable. Think about a busy hospital corridor with gurneys and carts banging around, or a school hallway packed with students. The demands on these surfaces are just intense. So how do our two options really stack up?
Honestly, when it comes to durability, it's pretty much night and day. Panels have built-in weak points, their edges, and their seams. Those are the spots that get chipped by carts, that start to peel and delaminate over time, and that trap grime, which is a huge concern for hygiene. Direct-to-wall printing, because it bonds right to the wall, gets rid of seams entirely. It basically acts like a performance coating. It's tough, smooth, easy to clean, and there are no built-in weak spots waiting to fail. Next, let's talk about something that every facility manager loses sleep over: time. How does each of these methods impact your project schedule and, maybe more importantly, the operational downtime of your space? This number right here, this is a game changer. A typical, large-scale feature, printed directly on the wall, can often be done in less than 5 hours. Just think about that for a second. That means a corridor or a lobby can be completely transformed overnight, with literally zero disruption to your daily operations. That's huge for an occupied building. You see, the timeline isn't just about how long it takes to stick something on the wall. With panels, you're dealing with this whole long chain of events, making them off-site, shipping them, risking damage in transit, and then a complicated on-site assembly that creates dust, noise, and disruption. Direct-to-wall printing just eliminates almost all of that. The production happens right there, on-site, in one clean, calibrated pass. And the versatility here is just incredible. We're not just talking about printing on perfect, smooth drywall. We're talking about printing directly onto concrete block, brick, and all sorts of other common commercial surfaces. This adaptability gets rid of a ton of prep work and costs that you might need just to get a wall panel ready.
Now, making an expert decision means looking beyond just the initial install. We have to think about the entire life of the graphic. What happens when it's time for a refresh? What are the real long-term costs? And what about the environmental footprint?
The life cycle for these two could not be more different. The panel life cycle is all about plastics, adhesives, and it usually ends with demolition and fees to dump it in a landfill. A refresh is basically a small construction project. With direct-to-wall, the graphic is simply paint over ready. An update is as easy as priming and painting. That dramatically cuts down on waste, cost, and any future downtime, which is a massive win for both your operations and the environment.
So, we've broken down durability, the timeline, and the life cycle costs. Now it's time to put all this information together so you can make the strategic call for your specific project. And it's not always about one solution being better than the other in every single case. In fact, A lot of times, the smartest approach is a hybrid one. You might use direct-to-wall printing for huge branding moments and wayfinding down a long corridor, but then you might specify super durable panels as a protective wainscot in a high-impact area like a loading dock. You see? The expert knows how to use the right tool for the right job.
So here it is. This is your final decision filter, your cheat sheet. Just ask these 5 questions about your project. If your wall is in decent shape and you can only afford a few hours of downtime for a sustainable graphic, direct-to-wall is probably your answer. If the wall is really damaged and you just need to cover it all up, panels might be the better call. This checklist puts the power of an expert diagnosis right in your hands.
So, now that you're armed with this framework, you can look at your walls not as just blank canvases, but as strategic assets. You can analyze the real-world demands of your facility and make an informed expert choice that balances performance, budget, and design. The only question left is, what are your walls going to do for you?